Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, Red Raider basketball once again hitting the postseason with legitimate high hopes for serious hardware. Our question: when football do the same?
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by TurboTax, ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed. Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. I'm already matched with my expert. He's right here in the flesh every day. Chris, great to be back with you once again, my man. And today we're going to dive into, I think, something that's thought-provoking and a bit of an exercise possibly for Red Raider fans out there as we await tip-off from Kansas City and the Big 12 tournament for Texas Tech. We're going to talk some hoops today, but maybe in a little bit more big picture way as it relates to not only Joey McGuire's football program, but really, I think, in a lot of ways, the athletics department as a whole that is operating right now in Lubbock, Texas. And you kicked something to me that I thought was thought-provoking in that we were kind of talking about a standard that has sort of been set by this men's basketball program and the heights to which they have reached. Well, it's been within an eyelash of the very top of that mountain. You get to a national championship game, and you also repeat some success within the NCAA tournament as far as not just the national final, but obviously Elite Eight or Final Four, Sweet 16. You're enduring some coaching changes and a top 10 team at this time, second place in the Big 12 conference. And we were kind of talking about your football program and all you have gone through and all that's been invested and all the support and the people that are involved to try and get this thing to similar heights. But is obviously a much different process and so far much different progress. Chris, and I want to get into today just some comparisons between those efforts because maybe in some ways they're similar, maybe in some ways they are radically different, but in a lot of ways, as far as those revenue-generating sports or the most prominent and visible sports are concerned, the men's basketball program has been one that's really sort of redefined, I think maybe where some Tech fans expect to be competing, not only within the conference, but possibly nationally. Am I overstating it a bit, or does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I think the standard word is an interesting one, and expectation is another one. And I just was sitting there thinking about it because I think the point needs to be made. The stated goal for football this fall is to try to win the Big 12 championship. Okay. But the point that needs to be really made here is that, and I was doing something recently and I kind of, they were like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, man, you're just trying to get there. You can't win it unless you play in it. You've never been. And there's just a few schools. Now the league has changed, and so there's a bunch more. But, you've been in the Big 12 since 1996, and you've never, since they've had a league title game, you've never participated. And I was thinking to myself, the basketball equivalent, like in the last 6 years, I guess, you have either won the conference championship one time, and you were the 2 seed in Kansas City, which would have been in 19, and then this year you finished second, and you're the 2 seed. The basketball equivalent, you would have played for the league championship in that sense, but you just can't seem to kick the door in, or maybe you're knocking on it, but nobody's answering from a football standpoint, because that's what it is required. You don't have to win. You don't have to be first, but you have to be in the top 2 in order to, or win your division or whatever it would have been. And you got close last year, but it's just it's interesting because the hoops is, Calvin, you said it. You've kind of repeated some of the success. The Sweet 16 year in Adams is, and that's the crazy thing here. You've done this now with what, 3 different head coaches over the last 6 seasons. So it's makes you think, one, this is a pretty good job from a basketball standpoint. It's well resourced and financed. It's well supported. It's all the stuff, but it's like, what do you have to do to just basically, and I think they're trying. Okay. But the football, you just like, here's this list. I saw this list from a football standpoint. This is a painful list to be on, my friend. Power 4 teams with the longest drought of not winning 9 games in the regular season. I would say to you, it will take at least 9 regular season wins this season in order to play in Arlington. Is that fair?
I think so.
Okay. And it may I mean, you could get to 10 or even 11 and it still not be enough, like in BYU's case last year. Okay. That's regular season. Doesn't count any sort of playoffs or bowl game or league title game. Regular season wins. These are the longest streaks currently going right now. Not a good list to be on. Boston College and Texas Tech are 16 years ago. It was 2008. Again, 9 regular season wins or more. Kansas, 17 years. Cal, 18 years. Purdue and Maryland, 21 years. Vanderbilt, 109 years. Those are the longest streaks in the Power 4 group of not being able to win. It's not a fun list to be on.
Yeah, and why are you reminding me of this again? I'm trying.
Well, because basketball continues to do it.
Yeah,
basketball continues to kick the door in, and like with different sets of players, different sets of rules, different coaches. Yeah. I mean, because I think what Beard and them were doing and the way they had to build it is completely different now than what Grant is having to do it. And I think Mark was kind of in the in-between of all that. So, and yet you've been able to figure it out or get it done or get lucky or just be good enough to you would have qualified in the football metric of that for the league title game in basketball twice in the last 6 years. Not only did you play for national championship, you went to the Elite Eight. You've been to multiple Sweet 16s. I mean, all the like, and yet football, you're just trying to get to the league title game. And I think football is hardest. I do. I think to take up for that, it's the hardest one because it's like the old analogy of like trying to turn a jet ski. Would you just barely turn it and you'd almost just fall off of the dadgum thing? Or it's like trying to turn a battleship. You got to spin the damn wheel for 10 minutes just to barely get it to move. Yeah. That's kind of like a football program versus a basketball program in the portal era specifically. But it's just interesting to me that you can't quite get there, and yet basketball, has continued to figure it out with different people, different rules, and different star players.
Yeah, and a lot of that has been based under different leadership, and not just leadership that's departing because things are going really well, but some tumultuous departures. Even the one that bounced because things were going really well turned out to be very tumultuous. Where are those hidden Dell laptops actually buried? No one knows. Possibly next to Jimmy Hoffa. It's really amazing. I guess I would say first, today's episode brought to you by TurboTax. Taxes was dealing with piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. Now, Taxes is easily uploading your forms to a TurboTax expert who's matched to your unique tax situation. An expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. And while they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress, and you get the most money back guaranteed. And while you go about your day, it's all happening with no stressing, no worrying, and no waiting. Now, this is Taxes with Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. By this point in time, the basketball program has broken through to that next echelon or whatever that next category is. Not that it's a blue blood kind of category, but obviously have broken through to being able to compete for serious things in the conference, and therein you would think nationally as well. What does it take For the football program, I'm not quite sure. I think the battleship analogy is probably an appropriate one. And I would also say, Chris, that as far as some of your closest historical peers and colleagues are concerned, maybe there was more room, for breaking in. Texas A&M and University of Texas men's basketball just as well financed as the football programs are, as well financed as the Kingdom of God. But the interest, the enthusiasm, the passion, and they've had their own periods, obviously, of success here or there, specifically in Austin, more so than College Station. College Station's got a good basketball team in it this time around, but maybe the landscape was just a little more ripe for opportunity as far as stepping in, because I think this basketball program for a considerable amount of time has probably played for more interesting things than the football program has, even if you go back to, James Dickey era, and then you get later on into a Bob Knight era, and then obviously this more recent one as well. I think there were probably more interesting basketball moments in each of those decades comparatively to what we saw in football, even given Mike Leach's decade, because some of the other decades were kind of in drought territory as far as some of the football achievement. I mean, I know you remember Reunion Arena and conference tournaments once upon a time where the Red Raiders were having a lot of fun, and that was 3 decades ago, Chris.
The old Southwest Conference, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to the SWC. I love me some Reunion Arena, man. I saw many a Maverick game, many a Southwest Conference game. I saw Tech and Texas play a Southwest Conference championship final in there. I saw some wrestling go on there. I mean, yeah, that was my spot. I even saw the laugh because you're gonna go, oh, dude. I saw Belle Biv DeVoe back in the day. I saw the MC Hammer Vanilla Ice tour. I mean, like, yeah, when I was a wee youngster. I guess I
need to ask how many pairs of parachute pants were in the closet of a young Chris level.
I wasn't rolling that way. Okay. I saw Keith Sweat and Tevin Campbell one time. Yeah, man, that was my spot. I just walking down like memory lane there in the old Reunion Arena.
I was thinking conference tournaments, but that can't compare to Keith Sweat.
But you are a 2 seed in the conference tournament this week, and that's the whole point. Is that's pretty high praise, or you've earned. I mean, because you're being talked about in a different kind of conversation. Odds makers, all the things, and I just think it's pretty interesting because I'm sitting there thinking, like, if you were that in football, you'd be in Arlington this weekend, and we would be like ecstatic and like pumped for the weekend, and probably nervous, and probably like, finally, you've made it. And yet it's like it is a big deal for basketball, but I mean, it wasn't but 4 or 5 years ago you'd done it previously when you showed up. And now, granted, you lost that game against West Virginia on that lovely Thursday night, and it was an uncomfortable Friday morning there at the downtown Marriott in Kansas City for all involved. But then you would go win the next 5 games and play for the national championship. And so maybe something similar will happen this time. Not that I want you to lose on Thursday night, not that I want you to lose the national championship game, but you went on a run. But yet football is searching. They're trying to, with the facility, with the portal, with just give me a chance. And probably part of this, Cowan, the biggest thing we could say is, why hadn't football? So much of it is just your quarterback injury issues. That's probably been the biggest thing. You could point to a coach. You could point to, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, so-and-so got hurt. But it all really mostly revolves around quarterback injuries. But see, the basketball, they don't, you don't have like the one guy or this playing like that you've had the stretch of like a decade plus where they've had a hard time staying healthy. So yeah, Tariq Owens got dinged up in Minneapolis, and that sucked. But you get what I'm saying. But
sure.
It's just, and this is like a football's time is coming conversation, but it's also like basketball's done a lot recently. In the last little stretch here, and it's most impressive because it's not one guy responsible for it. It's a variety of people, and that tells you that your program's got some staying power.
Man, I hope as you talk about there, that football's time is soon to come, but it's certainly no guarantee. And I think it goes back to a conversation we've had before on this program, kind of entering this new era of the Big 12 Conference. If not now, when? Is it now or never? Because so many things have, transpired that have, number one, put you in a blue blood-less group of competitors for the first time since your border conference days, I guess. And you also at the same time are as well resourced and with as many shiny objects to present to potential recruits and whatnot as you've ever had. So it does feel a little now or never-ish. You hate to limit the future. God only knows what's going to happen. But I don't know. Don't you kind of feel that vibe, Chris? Like, if not now, when would it actually happen? And I guess I'm talking about is like conference hardware hump, kind of getting over really competing for something in the Big 12.
I just, and you're talking football here, but I just think that, man, you just have to, the more chances you give yourself to knock on that door, like legitimate chances, I just think, at some point, like everybody's done so much trying to put yourself in the position to stand on that porch and knock on that door that, you'll get a little lucky and, whatever it takes. But, because it's like we've certainly seen our fair share of bad luck. And again, you're not guaranteed anything. Like you said, you could be Vanderbilt. What did I tell you? 109 years. But you will have to come off of that list for that to be the case this year.
Yep.
It's a fact. I don't see any other way. I just think, you're going to have to get to that 9. And again, what did Vegas say? What did they say? 7.5, 8, 8.5?
8.5, I think.
Yeah, something like that. So again, that's what it would require is you to hit the over there in order to do that. And anyway, we shall see. But in the meantime, it sure is fun living that 2-seed life for the men's hoopers, because that's just pretty heavy steps compared to what I've seen it. I mean, I've shown up to this tournament before going 1-17 in the conference.
Yeah.
I wasn't exactly like puffing my chest out like the Red Raiders are here, people. Like, what you gonna do about it? But it's kind of fun. You walk into that building now, and it's like you got the old double T on the old shirt or jacket or whatever, and people look at you differently. That they're gonna know, like, dude, man, y'all have a chance. I've already been told, by some folks around the league, like, dude, y'all are legit. And I'm like, yeah, hold on, back up. But still. You've garnered a lot of attention and earned it.
No doubt. And before we get out of here, I want to turn to one of the guys that is making a hand in that effort to get Texas Tech football to a similar category. He's a fan favorite from a previous era and now officially a part of the Texas Tech football staff, though was already a part of this program as a staff member. We're talking about Darcel McBath. He and a few others were visiting with local media recently as we are nearing a spring camp kickoff, and Coach McBath was talking about kind of that very thing, Chris, sort of what has to happen to advance the cause, what has to change. First, today's episode brought to you by Roy. And before the Roy app, NIL negotiations often happened under the table, and fans didn't have a clear way to directly support the athletes they love. Now with Roy, you get to be part of the change and support Texas Tech athletes in the most transparent way possible. Roy, the NIL app, allows you to choose the player you want to support, decide how much to contribute, and receive exclusive content from the athletes you back. The best part, if your player transfers, you get your money back. It's a risk-free way to show your support. The Roy app has given fans control, no more uncertainty. Now you can provide transparent, impactful support and help shape the team and the future of college sports with your contributions. Just download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing Texas Tech athletes with transparency and trust. This is the future of college sports. Join it now by downloading Roy and supporting your team and your favorite athletes. What has to happen to advance the cause? What has to change to really get Texas Tech to where they want to be this next go-around under Joey McGuire? Here is Darcel McBath.
Mindset, right? I mean, that's the first thing you got to change to be successful at anything. You got to change your mindset. You got to change your thought processes, and then the expectations of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, right? And never folding. That's what we're going. That's how it's going to be. We set a standard. We're going to live by that standard. We're going to work to that standard. We're going to get it done. And that's the first thing. That's the first thing I'm changing. The physical stuff, the practice stuff, all that stuff will come. We're good coaches. We'll figure that part out. But the mental side of it, the toughness, the mentality, the way you approach the game, that's number one.
Thought that was kind of interesting coming from a guy who's been in their shoes, a guy who's seen it from both sides now, and still sort of those intangible aspects, what he's describing as the most important.
I love this dude, man. I mean, he is every bit a Red Raider as anybody that's come through here, and he's done it at the highest level. And he knows, because that's coaching in 2025. I mean, yeah, we want you to run fast. Yes, we want your foot to go here and this, yes, we want you to understand this coverage. But so much of coaching is just between the ears these days. And it's like, if you're not going to be tough and you can't handle this or that, or you're going to mope, but especially at the position that Darcel's coaching, you got to have amnesia a little bit, play the next play. Those, because you're not gonna bat 1,000. You're gonna get beat sometimes, but like, what how are you handling it? And he talked in that press setting about emotional maturity a lot, and he's been through it. He's seen it. He knows what it's like, and he was on that 07, 08 teams, right there, and he saw really good defense played here. Then obviously he did so in the NFL with the Broncos and others, but I love that. And he's got Mo Horn and a bunch of new guys that he's teaching, and then a bunch of younger guys that he's trying to impress upon them, like what the standard is, how this is going to work, and all those things. But I love the mindset talk because especially that position, man, just because that's where you're not going to shut everybody out. You're not going to limit everybody. There's really good receivers and quarterbacks in this league, and but gosh, it needed to get better than it was last year. It really did.
No doubt.
Because if Braylon Lux was hurt or limited, you just kind of held your collective breath, and it shouldn't be that way. Now I feel like you've got 3 to 4 to 5, options there that are legitimately starting quality, and Mo Horn being one of those. And then the 4 new guys that were brought in here. And then you hear a ton of positives about Ashton Hampton and some of the younger crew, and we know about Macho Stevenson is his best ball is clearly ahead of him. I just Darcel, man, not a bigger fan of his than me.
No, this is the Darcel McBath fan podcast. I emptied out my bag of tortillas at the Cotton Bowl when he was scampering into the end zone to make it 14-0. Texas Tech over Ole Miss, and I should have prepared for more football to be played, I guess, that day. But I thought we had it sewn up. About 8 minutes into the ball game or something like that. Intangibles are important, Chris. Intangible things that you can't really see, touch, quantify, whatever. But then there are also some things that you can see and you can touch, and they're really shiny and they're brand new and they're spectacular. And those things are important as well. I want to just include this answer here. I want the audience to hear from Darcel McBath before we get out of here. Also talking about a bit of a new surrounding as far as the environment around this program right now, given the opening of the Womble football training facility. We call it Womble East, and obviously how that compares to his time previously as a Red Raider.
When we had our facilities, when I played here, we didn't feel like we were missing anything. We had a hot tub, we had a cold tub, we had a shower and a locker. It was great. And then you walk in this thing, you're like, well, it does get better, So I'm just happy as an alumni to see where we are as a university and the trajectory that we're on. It's cool to bring potential student athletes on campus and show them this facility, and they're like, man, this is the best in the country. And our guys, who some have been other places, are saying the same thing. And I've been a lot of other places, and I hadn't seen anything like it. It's spectacular. But it's just a testament to where we're headed as a university.
And nobody's seen it any closer than he has, Chris. I thought that was a great answer. He didn't even mention waterfall or barbershop or anything. He thought it was all right with a cold tub and a shower and a locker.
He and again, there's probably people that were in the mid '90s, that when Darcel and them got that new building, they were like, huh, we thought we had everything at the time. And then I'm jealous of those guys that when that new building was built. But it's just what's amazing about that previous building is how quickly it became outdated. And it just like ran out of space. It didn't have this, it didn't have that, and it just all kind of happened so fast. And I think that's what they really try to do with this particular building is think ahead, plan ahead, like not have to tweak this or do this, and like let's project a bit. Not that you can be perfect there, but it's fun because the reason Darcel is like so all in is like when he was at Mississippi State, or when he was at Washington State, or was even in the NFL, he will tell you, I was on Saturdays, I was trying to watch my Red Raiders, or I was trying to find the score. And like he really has pride, and there's a lot that he did here. And I think he almost kind of got emotional when he was asked about being able to come back here, because I think this is legitimately like dream come true type stuff for him, is that he wanted to be back as a part of it. And people don't remember these names, but like the Dave Browns and the Carlos Maynards and the people that were the coach in the secondary way back then when Mike was here and everything was rolling. I appreciated what Darcel said about those guys, because those guys were phenomenal at what they did, and largely responsible for the Darcel McBath, Daniel Charbonnet safety tandem, kind of thing. And but anyway, I'd love that he's back here getting to do what he wants. He is, just phenomenal guy, and he has a lot of expertise. He's seen it at the highest level and knows what it's supposed to look like, and has a lot of experience in the SEC and in the Pac-12 and all those things. So I was thrilled that he was added to this thing, and he's basically largely responsible for maybe your best corner in Bryce Pollock. So I think that helps too. But this is who Darcel is.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And I said we're getting near the kickoff to spring camp. I think we already got one practice in the books, actually. So they'll be
Accurate.
back at it very soon. And we are off and running. So be advised, multiple streams and worlds colliding here on Locked On Texas Tech. Chris, appreciate the time as always, my man. When we reconvene, we'll be back for a game day edition, as it'll finally be tip-off time for Texas Tech from the conference tournament. So looking forward to that. We'll get the table set and off and running with postseason basketball. Don't know how much we'll get, but hoping for a lot. And any's better than none. So here we go, right?
Absolutely, it is. Give me all the postseason you've got to dish out, man. I'll take every bit of it. But appreciate the time in KC now, and so we'll kind of see what the future holds.
There you go. All right, get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the Everydayers and the Matador Mob for always riding along. And make sure to hit the show notes for a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one texts sent straight to your phone. For Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Thanks for the time. And as always, hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.